But you know, yesterday in Albany, New York, thousands and thousands of New Yorkers were there rallying against the New York SAFE Act. Ginny Simone was up there. She reported live from the scene, and it sounded like it was just absolutely mobbed.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, it was muddy. It was rainy sun. That didn't bother anybody. They were sticking around. They were, you know, determined to get their message across. And it was interesting because you were talking about how many people were there. Thousands and thousands, you're right. But Governor Cuomo is claiming there's only about 5,000 people there. We know why he's saying that.
Right.
You know? Of course, he doesn't want to have to answer any questions from the press about it, so why not? But I was talking to Tom King just before I came on, and he said that the Albany police say that there was as many as 11,000 people there.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, Governor Cuomo, you know, he's usually there. It was very interesting. He's usually there on what's called Legislative Day, and yesterday was Legislative Day, but he was nowhere around. He left town, and I'm sure he heard well and loud and clear, even though he wasn't there, about, you know, what the people were saying there, and many of them had signs, carrying signs like, you know, Cuomo, you're a coward. And it's interesting because so many lawmakers repeated the same sentiment as the supporters there yesterday, including Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin, who I talked to. McLaughlin, great to see you again.
Thank you.
Here we are in the well, a big day, just the start of it. We've got a union behind us making their feelings very clear about the Second Amendment. Busloads of people are coming in from across the state. What does that send as far as a message to the lawmakers in this building?
Yeah, well, I think it sends a very loud and very clear message, or it should, to every single lawmaker in this building, including the governor. And you can see how excited they are, and I love it. I love it. You can see that what the message really needs to be is that we work for the people. It's not the people working for us. So this is going to be a phenomenal day in Albany. It's going to be, I think the eyes of the nation are upon Albany right now, and they're listening and looking in on what we're doing here.
You know, and you say you work for the people, and there are so many people I've interviewed recently saying the very same thing and asking, why did Governor Cuomo push through that bill, the SAFE Act, so quickly?
Well, I think it was a cowardly move on the governor's part. It was a cowardly move on this legislature's part because they didn't want what they're getting right now. They did not want the people of New York to stand up and push back. So they jammed this through under cover of darkness. The Senate didn't even debate the bill, which is a complete disgrace. And we as Assembly members had it for just a short time before we started to debate the bill. We spent 5 hours beating this bill up, and we did the best we could, but we knew what the outcome was going to be, just given the makeup of the chamber. So it was a egotistical move by this governor in a rush to do something to be first. That's all this was. This was about his own political life, not about the people of New York.
And you know, the governor himself called it, quote unquote, a gutsy vote. And if that in itself doesn't speak volumes for what this really is all about, and that's about advancing an anti-gun agenda, isn't it?
Well, it is, absolutely. And the gutsy vote were those of us that voted no. That was the gutsy vote to take on this. It's easy to jam something through on a message of necessity. That was not a gutsy vote at all. It was a very cowardly vote to take. You know, we have a job to do down here, and part of that job, the biggest part of that job, is upholding our oath of office and this Constitution. And to vote on a bill that you didn't read and didn't understand, and then to just rubber stamp it for a governor who's intent on running for president, but I can tell you he's not going to get there. He's not going to get to the White House after he did this. So my message to really America is wake up, stand up, get involved. This is your country. Take it back from the progressives, and that's what this is. This is not about Democrats and Republicans. This room and this lawn today is going to be filled with liberals and conservatives and Democrats and Republicans. It's not about that. It's about we, the people, standing up and taking this nation back from the progressives that are intent on destroying it.
And when you look at the the bill that he signed, the SAFE Act, I mean, expands the assault weapons ban. There's a registration in it. It limits, you know, the amount of ammunition you can use. Is that really the answer to what we're dealing with as far as what we're seeing in the past couple of months, like what we saw in Connecticut? No,
not at all. We don't need gun control. We need crime control. This bill does nothing to make anybody safer, and that's why I call it the Unsafe Act. I don't even refer to it as the SAFE Act. And what did they do? Like typical progressives, if they don't like the definition of something, they just redefine the word. We already had a so-called assault weapons ban here in New York. They just redefined it. What used to be 2 features to make an assault weapon is now 1. So it's really, you know, we used to have a 10-round limit, which was plenty restrictive enough. I would say too restrictive. Now they're dropping that down to 7. And the reason they did that is a backdoor ban on most handguns, because there's not going to be 7-round magazines. So it was a sneaky bill. It was not well thought out. You're seeing the pushback right now. We are, as of last night, 33 out of 62 counties have issued resolutions opposing this bill.
Sheriffs are speaking out.
Sheriffs are speaking out. Mental health professionals are speaking out. This bill's a disaster. And very shortly, within a few weeks, we're going to have 50 out of 62 counties opposing this bill. Well, what now, Governor? What's your plan now when most of the state is opposed to this bill? It's an unworkable bill.
And just yesterday I heard where they might make an exemption for Hollywood.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting that he cares about make-believe actors shooting make-believe guns, but he seems not to care about the people's right to defend themselves?
Yeah, and what about the victims?
Right, exactly. And you know, we just saw in Virginia 3 animals break into a house. There was a man home alone with his 2-year-old, and these 3 armed individuals come in, and thank God the man was armed and was able to defend his family, and he killed 2 of them, which, you know what, great. I'm glad he killed them. They were animals. And I think he wounded, or the other one got away, and they're searching for the other one, whatever happened there. But what would 7 rounds have done to that man? You know, he might be dead, and his family may be dead along with him. So it's just it's really an abuse of power is what this bill was.
What do you think the chances are that we'll be able to repeal this?
Well, inside this legislature, I don't think that there's a chance of repeal, because as I say to people, if they believed in their Constitution and the oath of office, they never would have passed this abuse of power. So inside the legislature, I don't think so. But we can take it back at the ballot box in a year and a half. And I do believe that in the courts, we have a very good chance of getting, if not all of this overturned, very, very large parts of this overturned. So I think that's where our redress is going to come, and that's why it's so vital that the people are here today. I mean, I think we're going to have upwards of 5,000 people, maybe 10,000 people here. And, you know, history calls, and people, thank God, are standing up and pushing back against this and saying our rights are not going to be taken from us under cover of darkness.
When you look at what's going on in D.C. with Senator Feinstein and her attempt to reinstate the ban, when you look at what's going on in this state house, have you ever seen our rights, our freedoms under assault as they are today?
Well, never in my lifetime, and I'm sure for the people watching, never in their lifetime have they seen an all-out run on our Second Amendment rights, and really all kinds of rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment, 14th Amendment. We have all kinds of issues here. The progressives feel emboldened because for far too long, America, the hardworking people of America that are getting up every day, going to work, paying their taxes, doing what they need to do, have sort of been, I don't want to say complacent, but they've been busy. They've been living their lives. They've been raising their families, paying these taxes. And then you suddenly look up and say, what the heck happened to my country? Well, this is a great awakening taking place across this country right now. And that's my message to everybody. We are today's Minutemen. We're peaceful, but we are the Minutemen of today. We are standing up saying this will not stand, and we are taking this country back, and it's going to be the representative republic that it is supposed to be, and we have had enough of the progressives running the table on us. So I think it's a wonderful thing.
And as you said, people need to make their voices heard.
Absolutely.
But it's more than that, because you've got people like Mayor Bloomberg who are so determined to do whatever it takes, whether it means, you know, impacting an election like we've seen in Illinois. He says he's got the money to do what he wants to do.
Right.
As you said, a wake-up call for everybody.
Well, it absolutely is, and it's really incumbent upon all of us. Mayor Bloomberg, as rich as he is and as nanny state as he is, he still only gets 1 vote. So there's a lot more of us that are no longer going to be the silent majority. We are now going to become the vocal majority. That's the key. 1 man, 1 vote. We take it back district by district, town by town, legislature by legislature, all the way up through Congress and the presidency. And the truth is, it's not about party. It's about sending people to office that are going to uphold their oath of office. And that's what my message is to everybody.
All righty. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
it. Thank you.
Again, that New York State Assemblyman, Steve McLaughlin. And we've got a picture here from the rally up in Albany yesterday outside. You can see there, we don't need gun control, we need idiot control. And my goodness, that does not look like the stereotypical gun owner as portrayed by the mainstream media.
Oh, but why would that be, huh? And we've got tons of video. Well, you'll see some of it coming up on the Sportsman Channel Hour. But, they had all sorts of great signs there. You know, things like only criminals and dictators want gun bans. All sorts of analogies with Cuomo saying, Adolf Cuomo. But people are determined, and I think they are, as Tom King said yesterday, fired up like never before. And when you heard the Assemblyman talking about it's going to be a tough fight on repeal, if it doesn't work that way, you've got the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association filing a lawsuit, and he's pretty darn confident, Assemblyman McLaughlin, as well as others that I spoke to. You'll hear from a senator on Monday who's pushing the repeal. She's going to introduce a legislation to get it going. But they're pretty confident they can win in the courts.
Well, that's good. I mean, they're going to need to if they can't win in the legislature,
Yeah.
because, I'm curious, did anybody that you talked to yesterday say, we've talked about gun companies who, are talking about moving out of state, but what about gun owners? I mean, did you talk to people who say, I can't live here if this is what the law is going to be?
Oh, and I think there are plenty of people who understand that, it's a tough fight. I don't think they're ready to move, but they'll tell you there is a definite difference, and we speak about it all the time, from the people who live in New York City to the people who live in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, and until we can actually get together and discuss what we're talking about and why it makes a difference to own a firearm, it's going to be a tough fight. But I never had anybody say, no, I'm moving out. But boy, are they determined. They are angry. They say, we've got the right. They're concerned about, there were students there yesterday, future generations.
Right. Yeah, you said those students were, 4.5-hour bus ride?
Oh, they were on a 4.5-hour bus ride.
Were these college kids, high school kids?
Some of them were high school kids.
Wow.
Took off the day, and a couple of families brought their kids there. They said, I want my kids to have an education, and they got an education firsthand about what's at stake if people don't make their voices heard, if they don't stand up like what you saw yesterday. And a lot of the assemblymen were pointing out that we don't just hear from gun owners anymore. When you were talking about whether they're ready to move out, I think people are more concerned that what's happening in New York is, as I said, a microcosm of what's going on, and people who never thought they would get involved in the debate, never thought they would own a firearm or want to, they are involved and concerned, and they're supporting, our side. They're supporting the NRA.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, next week, another big opportunity for those who support the right to keep and bear arms, the Illinois Gun Owner Lobby Day taking off. Again, Illinois is such a huge state this year with right to carry, with the gun bans, with Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Bloomberg spending his millions to buy his latest congressperson. So, again, this is a great opportunity for gun owners and those who support the right to keep and bear arms, even if they're not gun owners themselves, to get out there and be heard, because it does have an impact.
And a lot of people were talking about Chicago yesterday when I was chatting with him, saying, we've got a president, he's from Chicago. You think he would see firsthand what we're all witnessing. It's the murder capital of the world. I mean, it's unbelievable what the carnage in the street, so to speak. And you've got a president, he's just looking the other way.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and Rahm Emanuel, what's he doing? More gun laws, like as if that's really going to make a difference. And that's what the people are seeing in New York, too.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Ginny, again, I appreciate you coming in studio, and great work yesterday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Yep.